Yo, what is up, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video, and today I'm once again here to talk about something that I was wrong about. When you talk about basketball as much as I do on this channel and on Twitter and everything like that, you're bound to be wrong a lot of times, especially when you make predictions, things like the playoff predictions video that I made and all the series predictions that I've made. You're never going to be 100% right, even if you know ball, like some people say, you're never going to be 100% right. And something that I was very wrong about, a player in particular, Jimmy Butler. Coming into these playoffs, one of my main concerns, and I've talked about this in a ton of videos, but I want to make a full video on it to really go over how good he has been. But I made a video talking about how Jimmy Butler, I didn't know if he could be that number one option. It was around that time when he was really struggling. The Heat had that altercation on the bench, which, by the way, since they had that between Jimmy Butler, Udonis Haslem, and Eric Spoelstra, they've been the best team in the league record-wise. So clearly that kind of fired them up a little bit and got some things straightened out. But overall, just since that moment, they've been on fire, and in particular, Jimmy Butler is having one of the most impressive playoff runs we've seen from anybody in pretty recent history. He's really going off last night in game one against the Boston Celtics, a series where I predicted Boston would win in 6, which they definitely still can, but he and the Heat made a statement. Jimmy Butler came out and dropped 41 points. He was dominant, he was efficient, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and it's just more of what he's been doing these whole playoffs. Over the course of the playoffs, Jimmy Butler's putting up 29.8 points per game, 7.7 rebounds, and 5.4 assists, not 54 assists. He's also shooting efficiently over 50% from the field, over 35% from 3. He's knocking down his free throws. He's getting to the line. He's playing great defense, amazing defense as well. Players, when guarded by Jimmy Butler last night, were shooting terribly on Boston. He's just doing absolutely everything that the Heat need him to do and is playing like the superstar they need to win a championship. It's always been the question for the Heat, not whether they're deep enough, because they've got great players all around on that roster. It's a question of, do they have that superstar? Because in the NBA, it is rare to win without a superstar player. It really does not happen in this league. In a sport in basketball where one player can impact the game on both sides in such a major way, it's hard to win if you don't have someone who's either amazingly gifted offensively, defensively, or both. It just really doesn't happen. Yet Jimmy Butler is coming through and he is making this amazing effort, once again taking a playoff leap, which we've seen in the past. We saw it in the 2020 playoffs, which people called him a bubble fraud, and clearly that is not the case. Some people thought I didn't trust Jimmy Butler because of last year's playoffs. That was not the case. That was 4 games. I was not at all shook by that. That didn't at all shake my confidence in Jimmy Butler. I've always thought he's really good, an all-star, all-NBA caliber player, but coming into these playoffs, I didn't know if he could be the superstar that the Heat needed to lead them to potentially an NBA championship as the 1 seed, going through a really tough Eastern Conference, facing off against a pretty good Sixers team, and now a Celtics team that's been the best team in the league over the second half of the season. They need Jimmy Butler to continue to do incredible things, and so far he has shown no sign of slowing down. Over the course of this playoff run, Jimmy Butler has had 8 different games with 40 plus or more points and 60% shooting or more from the field. That's over his whole playoff career, not this playoff run. Very impressive. It continues to show how great of a playoff player he is. And at this point now, Jimmy Butler now has the most 45-5 games in playoff history for the Miami Heat. He has 3, and Dwayne Wade and LeBron James each have 2, which shows how great he has been for this team. He's been incredible, locking up, like I said, defensively as well. He's been one of the best defenders in the league over the course of these playoffs, guarding the opposing team's best player while also giving the Heat 30-40 on almost any given night is no easy task. That is something that we typically see by like MVPs and things like that. And Jimmy Butler really didn't get that MVP love. He didn't really put up the stats for it. He was kind of inefficient from the field and especially from 3 in the regular season. And then he got to the playoffs and he just became one of the most efficient volume scorers in the league. He's just one of those guys that can really turn up the dial when it matters. And it's really, really impressive. And it goes to show just how much he kind of stays ready for these playoff games. We've seen it in the past, like I said, with that finals run back in 2020, but him doing it now outside the bubble, I hope is showing people that the Heat really were that good in the bubble. They were a team that was really capable. They had a great player, a playoff level superstar in Jimmy Butler to bring them to that section of the playoffs. It's incredible to watch what he is doing. Really just, no matter what the Celtics threw at him, and this is a phenomenal Celtics defense. This is a Celtics defense that was #1 in the league for the second half of the season, and I think by the end of the year, they did end up as #1 overall. They've got the best record in the league, like I said, in the second half of the year. Sure, they didn't have Robert Williams, or nor did they have Marcus Smart, but even still, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, they've got really good defenders on this team. So the fact that Jimmy Butler came in, wasn't fazed at all by anything they threw at him. He was getting downhill, he was getting to the line, forcing them to foul him. Some people were mad about the free throws thing, calling him like, oh, he's a free throw merchant. The only reason he's scoring is because of free throws. But drawing fouls is a skill. It is a skill to get to the line and get the points when you can. And part of the reason they had to foul him is because they couldn't stop him. They were biting on pump fakes. They were biting for his moves. He was just going into contact, finishing when he was able to. He was really making the Celtics work for every stop, and that caused them to make a lot of lazy, sloppy defensive plays and foul him a lot because he continued to put the pressure on, which is something that Jimmy Butler also does a great job of doing. He's not a player that at the beginning of the game, he'll be really aggressive and then kind of slow down, or start the game pretty slow and then get more aggressive. He's a guy that's going to maintain that effort level through the whole game, whether it's offensively or defensively. He's going to completely put in that work on both ends, make the opposing team work offensively, tire them out, and then go down the other side of the court and give them buckets over and over and over again. It's not an easy feat, regardless of how many free throws you shoot, to put up a really efficient 41-point game against the best defense in the league and continue non-stop. Because it ended up being an 11-point win for the Heat, but it was pretty close for most of this game. Really until like the fourth quarter, or really until the third quarter when the Heat outscored them by 25 points, it was close. The Celtics, were up 8 at halftime, and the Heat came out, outscored the Celtics by 25 in the third, led by Jimmy Butler, and ended up taking it home. It was a super impressive effort from Jimmy Butler and this Heat team, who continue to prove people wrong. And I was wrong. Like I said about Jimmy, I didn't know if he could reach this level. And in my video yesterday, when I talked about what the keys to the series are, is can Jimmy Butler keep this level going? Can he continue to score like this? And he doesn't have to score 41 every night on good efficiency for them to win. But if he's putting up 30 points per game like he has been through the playoffs, this Heat team's really tough to stop because they've got good players outside of him. Tyler Hero, Victor Oladipo, Bam Adebayo. I don't know why I said his name third. He should have come up earlier in my mind. Kyle Lowry when he's healthy, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent. They've got a bunch of really solid players. Gabe Vincent had 17, Tyler Hero had 18, 11 from Max Strus last night. They're a really solid roster. They've got good defenders to try and deal with the Celtics. And if Jimmy's scoring 30 a night, it's really hard to beat them. Really, the key to beating the Heat in my mind coming into the playoffs, or one of the reasons why I didn't pick them to make the finals, was that it felt like you could if you could slow down Jimmy and or Hero, they didn't have a lot of talent around them. But at this point, even if you slow down Hero, Jimmy's going to give you 30. It doesn't really matter what you do to him. He's still going to put up his buckets. And I guess that's why they call him Jimmy G Buckets, because he's going to get his buckets regardless of what you do. And it's been really, really impressive to watch. A guy who's a borderline top 10 player in this league, continuing to elevate his game at a time when his team needs it most after what was really a shaky end to the season, like I said. He was a guy that was shooting pretty poorly from three. Hell, he wasn't even attempting threes for a lot of the year. And now he comes into it this year, scoring efficiently all over the court. Mid-range, backing guys down to the basket has really been one of his strengths, getting a smaller defender on him and just bullying them down to the basket and scoring, whether it's a quick fadeaway mid-range, whether it's going right up at them under the basket, slashing, playmaking for others as well. Like I said, he's averaging over 5 assists a game too, grabbing boards, locking up defensively. Jimmy has been a superstar in these playoffs, and I'm very happy to say I was wrong about him. I really thought he was going to slow down a bit, and ultimately him being their one option might be the downfall of this Heat team, but it's not. He is the sole reason why, or not the sole, sole reason, but by far the biggest reason why they're here and why right now they're up 1-0 on the Celtics, 3 wins away from making the NBA Finals. Like I said, the Celtics could still very well win this series, but if they can't stop Jimmy and he keeps scoring like this, the Heat have a pretty good shot at a championship. So those are my thoughts on the game last night and Jimmy Butler. I just wanted to really praise him for what he's been doing. I think I haven't had a lot. It feels like I haven't been able to talk about the Heat that much on this channel just because they've kind of been blowing through teams. So not a lot to say about them so far, but Jimmy does deserve all of his flowers for what he's doing. Just an incredible run. One of the most impressive individual runs I've seen in a while up to this point. But for right now, that's all I have to say. Let me know what your thoughts are on Jimmy Butler. Did you agree with me leading into the playoffs? Were you worried about them, or were you really never concerned? Did you believe in Jimmy Butler more than I did? Let me know in the comment section below. I appreciate y'all watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you all later.